Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here. What a review it's going to be here, folks. The Back Yourself podcast here. 2 weeks into the footy season here for the round 2 review. Coming off. Titans are back, baby.
Titans.
And it's like they never left. What a performance from these guys.
Yeah.
Talk about overs. But I will now introduce my partner in crime, Christopher. How are you, my friend?
Very well, mate. Very well. Can't say it was a bad round. Literally everything we said other than the Friday.
It was a fascinating round. Truly.
Okay.
Because I was banging the drum last week of what the fuck's this garbage that every favourite keeps covering. And I got my wish, you could say. Come Friday night, I mean, wow. But unfortunately, we called it one game earlier. On the Thursday night, your upset alert goes down in flames. And the Finns essentially have also gone down in flames 2 weeks into the season with a pitiful performance up at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights prevailed 26-12 in this one, and the Knights fans are out for your blood. Their pitchforks are out, Chris. Will you be apologising to this fan base?
Of course not. It's Newcastle. Come on. Anyway, look, I always have to have one team come after me, and I guess this year it's going to be Knights, right?
Well, it's not going to be the Roosters fans because apparently you're going to give them a lot of credit.
I will. Credit, but a backhand slap. You know, that's how I give credit to Roosters. But in terms of Knights, let's stick with Knights. First of all, I didn't think you guys would put a performance like that. I know Knights have the ability to mess it up, and they almost did in the first game. But the second game, they looked very convincing. But I think more of the story here wasn't. I don't think we can sit here and go, oh yeah, Knights were like the best team of the round. There's no combo. I don't even think. Out of all the winners, maybe not South, obviously, they might have been the worst performer.
Yeah.
So,
but they performed well, I guess.
Yeah,
which is kind of the theme of this round, that when like the teams won, they won very handsomely, or they won at $200.
Second worst performer, because we'll get to one of the worst performers. They just played the dirt of the competition. Because they weren't great either, even though they won 500-0.
What I'm saying is I agree with you, but that's not really... Like, that's just kind of how the round played out. If you... Just analysing this game in a vacuum, I mean, Dolphins... like.
Oh, I was getting to them. I'm just going to start on Knights.
Oh, wow.
Dolphins, look. I genuinely believe, at this point, it's a mentality thing with you idiots. There's no reason for you guys not to be able to score now that Wayne Bennett has left his rocking chair and sent it to South. Not with this team. And you guys could never defend. Fine. Even, I think round 2 or round 3, you played Knights last year or the year before, from memory.
When they went and ambushed them.
They went and ambushed them, but it was like 30-20 anyway. So, like, you conceded 26 fair, all right? At least score 24. But the scoring is out the window. And every time you had the offense, I was just like, how are they actually going to score? They can't even get through this team. Credit to Knights. Like, they didn't overplay it. They didn't do anything. They just played what's in front of them. They're like, these kinds of garbage. And that's what happened, right? And Dolphins, like, I truly think it's a mentality thing that Wayne's left. There's nothing wrong with this team. There's nothing wrong with the players. There's moments, I would say, in all halves that they've played, all 4 of them, that you're like, all right, they're better than them. Like, they just got to get it over with.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that in either of the halves in this game. The Souths game, sure, but I wasn't convinced for 1 minute in this game that Dolphins were going to win. And that's saying a lot playing Knights. Come on. All right, I think from my perspective, Chris, you came on, you said Knights are fucking garbage and Dolphins are better than them. Which I understand where you're coming from. I think, for me personally, I was right about Knights. I don't think I learned anything out of Knights. I was like, you know what? Knights are probably around that 7 to 9 mark, and they played like 7 to 9 mark. They weren't perfect. They just kind of stuck in the game and built pressure and didn't fuck the game over for themselves. But this Dolphins team was... What came further in the round, like we'll get to in terms of the grand scheme of the round, but this Dolphins team was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And people are going to forget it because so much has happened since that Thursday night game, but... They look like a completely different club, completely different team. We're coming off 2 seasons of what's the trademark Dolphin player? Hammer time. Where the fuck's this cunt been for the first 2 rounds? It's like he's not even on the field.
I know.
We've been banging the drum here for 24 months. Marshall King is the most underrated hooker in the league. Has literally done nothing so far. Katoa literally just dummied and went past like 2 Knights players for the only 2 Dolphins tries. That's it. In 80 minutes, that was it from these guys. And I want to say Knights, like systematically, their defense really impressed me because anytime Dolphins shifted it to the edge, Knights were just like, as you said, so articulated so eloquently. Knights literally looked at these guys like, you guys are fucking garbage. We're not going to fall for any of this rubbish.
Yeah, they didn't fall
for any. And they just drifted aside, and Dolphins were like, well, fuck. Let's just throw it to Junior Tupou so he can knock it on for the 50th time.
What doesn't make sense is their shape last year was like good teams couldn't defend Dolphins.
Of course.
Their offense was insane.
Yep. And the Nicarima, Katoa, Hammer Time, and both of the centers combination was
but like this year, it's just like out the window.
And the fingerprints of Wayne Bennett was on this team the last 2 seasons. You can tell that there's no fucking structure. There's no organization here anymore. It's just, there's individual efforts. And I see a potential of a team that can do something, right? Like Gilbert, Plath, Kafusi, Daniel Saifidi. There's moments within sets that they're going shots on and they're restricting the opposition from making meters and they're carrying the ball strongly. But it's like, all right, first tackle shots on, second tackle shots on, third tackle, fuck it. Like the ref will say, get up, I'll just lie an extra second because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Penalty. And then they get to their goal line and it's just like, well, we can't defend air anymore. So
well, they can't. They never did.
Their goal line D was never great, but
it was better than some teams.
I didn't see the signs of ill discipline, errors, all this rubbish that they've dished out the last 2 weeks. Of you can tell that there's an absence of Wayne not there anymore. And for their players, like their big names, Hammer Time, Farnworth, Marshall King, have been putrid in the first 2 weeks. And if anything's going to turn for these guys, look,
it starts with Tigers.
There's one reprieve for Dolphins, and they've really never been great in New South Wales. In the last 2 seasons, anytime they've tried to travel to Sydney, generally they do perform under par. And in Queensland, they do perform very well. So it has been a turbulent 2 weeks for these guys. They've been fucking garbage. And I'm this close to putting in the line through these losers for the rest of the season. But they do return to Suncorp next week. And like Wolf said in his press conference, they get to sleep in their own beds, they get to fucking see their families, they do all this rubbish. If they go out and mail it into Tigers as well, I will nuke you cunts come to review.
Yeah, but I think they're playing... I think Tigers are better than Knights, in my opinion. And
outside of you liking them, I would say they're pretty comparable, which we saw in week 1.
No. I think Tigers are better than Knights. I think today proved that, but we'll get to that. I think you're more leaning Para with fucking shit, but Tigers were actually good.
Tigers have been very impressive. Even in their loss, they were like, you know what?
I'm putting them above Knights in my book.
Okay, even if it is...
But they lost to South, so that's unforgivable.
Yeah.
South is shit.
Shithouse. Yeah. So, Dolphins, a lot of soul-searching. Knights, it was a good win. You guys did your job. Never was really in doubt at all. Anything Dolphins threw at you guys, it was just like throwing fucking darts at a dartboard and hoping one of them hits the bullseye, and it never did for even 1 second. Even like... me trying to rip my eyeballs out at the end when Pierce Paul got sin bin and these cunts still couldn't score. I was like, yeah, these guys are fucking
they had nothing. They had nothing. No answers.
And when South took the lead against them in week 1 and Dolphins is fucking had nothing in the tank after that as well, I was also watching them like, this is shit from you guys. So
I'm not putting a line.
It's getting late early for you guys, and another like a loss next week, and that's pretty much wraps things up. You guys have been despicable, but I'll give you one more week to prove me.
Well, the whole league's 1-1, all good.
Yeah. I'm not so much worried about them in terms of wins and losses because, I mean, outside of the undefeatable Raiders, like you can make ground on the ladder, but as far as their performance, if you can't beat Souths and then you go and quit tonight, I don't see that many wins on the schedule.
I wouldn't put them last still in my power rankings. No. There's still two more. At least
we're getting to 5:30 on Saturday. That's fine.
Moving forward, 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Moving forward. Prepare for me to go nuclear, everybody in the audience. The Waz, baby, put up 30 on the board and dismantle Manly in New Zealand.
Manly Seagulls.
Which we said, Chris has fucking knighted these cunts as the greatest team of all time. And they really looked like that for 65 minutes in week 1. But they go to New Zealand and lay an egg, leaving New Zealand with a few key injuries. Tommy Turbo, the first time in his career, he's strained his hamstring. I'm sure this is foreign to him. And Daly Cherry Evans, it fucking looked like he had kidney stones out on the field. So that's fantastic.
But
I'll defend the Manly.
But they've both been cleared for round 3, so we'll see if they get selected.
Okay, that's good. Manly.
Here we go.
Okay.
Who was the ref? Just curiosity.
It doesn't matter because I'll skin him alive. But
Okay.
I am not one that will come and make excuses on the podcast. This is the Back Yourself podcast. We give our opinion. This is the beauty of this podcast, Chris. We give our opinion 5 days in advance of the round starting, and we come and answer for our opinions once the round is done.
Yeah.
And we came on and we said there is no reason to take Warriors. They're not even in the same tier or stratosphere as Manly as a team. I said I was on -4.5. This closed at 9 or 10, depending on where you were shopping around. And in hindsight, I would take Manly line again. This gets lost in the narrative of, because at the end the scoreboard reads 30 and Manly's 16, whatever the fuck they scored. They lost 13 plus. That's great, but I've never seen a more deliberately half a footy donated to a team in my life than that first half, where the set restart count was 8-0 in favour of Warriors. 8. And what will get lost in this is that Manly literally scored in the 3rd minute, shifting the ball out wide, and Warriors are sitting there like, oh, fuck, what do we do? They're coming at us. They're so fast. And Manly turbo scores 2 minutes into the game, and now everyone in hindsight wants to be like, see, we told you Warriors was the right side. There's so much. You guys just don't know what you're talking about. No. You give any team in the league 8 set restarts to 0 in one half of footy, and I'm going to make this point for another team who played today, the fucking idiots. Not only does it put scoreboard pressure on you in terms of any team, and Warriors, don't get me wrong, they still can't score. Any team with that much possession on accident will score 2 or 3 tries, right? So they go into the break after having 30 tackles in the opposition 20 to 0, zilch, they're up 12. Well done, Warriors. And that not only is the issue is that Manly's down 12, but this carries on into the second half. When you have to make 500 more tackles than your opposition, by the end of the game, you don't have any fucking gas in the tank and you end up falling short. So, I don't know. Oh, one other thing we had to mention in that Dolphins game. This refereeing is just fucking despicable. Across the whole sport, whether it's in our favour or not, we'll call it out when it's in our favour, a la Sharks. But this entire round was just dog wank play the ball after dog wank play the ball. Yet the only team that actually called that for it was Dolphins.
Actually, you know what's fascinating? I don't think one of them was called today, and I watched both games.
You're telling me Titans used their foot in every fucking play the ball? No way. But Jared Sutton literally on Dolphins' own 4-meter line was like, "Yep, roll ball. Give it to Knight."
That's Jared Sutton. We have a
2-0, baby.
Yeah,
Jared Sutton. For those of you guys that don't know, any favourite that he refs will cover the spread based on his input into the game. But anyway, back to the fucking show. Warriors, you guys still aren't good. So I don't want anyone getting it twisted and thinking the Waz or anything. They're still fucking garbage. And they were the wrong side. Even at 10.5, if this was like an even possession game, they would have lost by fucking 50. So that's all I need to say about that. But congratulations on the victory. It was very well earned, I guess, after you got 256 against.
I feel like Manly was like the biggest one that everyone was like, oh my God, this is going to be the shock of the decade. And then the next game happened.
Yeah, well hold my beer.
I feel like that kind of got lost, but that Warriors game, to have an 8-0 set restart, what's fascinating is the next game, there was total 3 set restarts in the whole
80
game.
minutes, yeah. So apparently Manly is just the most ill-disciplined team in the history of the sport.
Yeah,
sure.
Only in New Zealand though.
Any comments on the Warriors game from you?
Warriors themselves, sure, that like, you know what, at least they put the ball over the line, right? And they went on with it in the second half. I'll give them that much credit.
Yeah, I agree.
They did look much like 10 times better than what they looked like against Raiders. But now that we know what Raiders are after this week, like, you're like, all right, well,
Raiders are
pretty good, bro.
Yeah, Raiders are pretty good.
But Warriors were awful week 1. I don't think Raiders like went to another level this week compared to their Vegas game, in my opinion. And Warriors did improve. And that was the big rest. And I think a lot of teams, what was fascinating is that this Vegas games didn't affect any team bar one, and which is fascinating because these guys are the 4-time champs, and all of a sudden they go to the Northern Hemisphere and they've come back.
They were jet lagged.
Must have been. The software didn't update in Australia. They updated it in America because all the teams that did go to Vegas outside of Penrith, which we'll get to, all won convincingly.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Which is hilarious. So there was no, like we were saying earlier in the year, how come they're not playing each other again? How come they've changed the rules so they're playing a new team a week later? How's that fair? What do you mean fair? They go pump everyone. Apparently Vegas is the nucleus of everything. So shout out to the Warriors. You guys got your win. This week is going to be 10 times more hilarious, in my opinion, on Friday against which is going to be hilarious. We'll see your true colours, and if you get another 50 calls, then you're probably going to win again. But to have an 8-0 restart count against Manly, who typically are not a defensive team anyway, and you know what? I can't believe I'm going to big up Manly, but to have an 8-0 set restart count and only concede 16, Manly would concede 30 in a normal year, in my opinion.
I will say, like, the second half, I was pretty alarmed with what Manly dished out. The first, 15, 20 minutes. It was pretty bad. And I understand that it's hard to defend your line set after set after set after set, but, like, that Tuapiki try, like, Sipley and shit, like, you guys just came on. Why are you just allowing somebody to walk through the heart of your defense like that? That's where I would be like, but then again, like, who's defending in this sport besides Tigers?
Then don't worry. I'll say it for all.
Because what I was just about to say was, like, you would never see that out of Penrith, but you literally did see that out of Penrith.
I'll say the comments for bro. They weren't just. They're not as good outside of Brookvale.
yeah.
Classic. You know, everyone knows that.
Because outside of Brookvale, clearly they have to overcome a 900-0 set restart count. So of course they're not going to be as good outside of Brookvale. Anyway, Warriors, you went on with the job. You
did
well.
All right. Next.
You put 36 on the board, which was the beginning of just underdogs scoring an enormous amount of points in all of their victories. Like, sometimes you will see a big price underdog win at a big price because their opposition, like, they don't convert chances on their goal line and they fumble and bubble a try or two. But this round, in my opinion, was unique because when the underdogs won, is because they went out there and scored 7 converted tries, which was crazy to me.
Speaking of 7 converted tries,
cock-a-doodle-doo,
you didn't play it at the start of the podcast. I might have to edit it in.
There was more other ambushes in the round, so it kind of took away from the focus. But the Roosters will go out there and win at $11 odds against the $1.30 Penrith Panthers, which literally nobody in Australia, I don't care like what anyone says, they thought would have tipped the Roosters to go out and get a win after going out and essentially rolling over to Brisbane last week. What a difference a week makes in rugby league that these guys went out there and won. What was the full-time score, Chris?
38-32.
38 points from these guys.
Yeah.
With essentially a reserve grade forward pack. No Lindsay Collins, no Victor Radley, no Spencer Leniu, no players. But what a captain's knock from James Tedesco and a bit of leadership from Angus Crichton and the outside backs I thought were fantastic. Gave the young boys a bit of hope. And Penrith, after conceding 22 to Cronulla, now concede 38, uncharacteristically to the Sydney Roosters.
70 points.
I came out and I said, I believe this is one of the bets of the season in terms of getting on the Roosters. I thought, look, the most still will get to is 21.5, but 24.5 on game day, I really have seen it all. That 2 weeks into a season, a team could be touted to go out there and lose by 4 converted tries. But even in saying that, in my wildest dream, I didn't think these guys would go out and win.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think they would win. Not in my wildest dreams. Ivan has the excuses after the game. I think you were mentioning this, what he was saying. Oh, yeah, the boys weren't. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Ivan Cleary came and said that, look, I feel like we lost this game in between the years in the lead-up of preparation, which was very...
Who cares? It's Roosters with no one. Yeah. But, as I always do, I have to give him a backhand slam because I have done some research. Well, I didn't. It came up on my feed, and it was absolutely fascinating. The Roosters upset is the second biggest odd upset in the history.
There was one bigger?
Yes. The history of the NRL.
Wow, that's insane.
The one that was first was, I forget what year, but it was Titans beating the Roosters. You know what the one was second?
What?
Broncos beating Roosters.
Yeah. 22.
You know what was fourth?
Roosters and
the Roosters and Dolphins.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, and I sat back and went, this is exactly what I'm talking about, like what I said to you the other day. It all makes sense. As soon as you idiots are expected to win anything, you lose. And as soon as we ride you off, that's when you want to show up and pull your chest up and be like, yeah, we're the Roosters. Well, this is your second win against these top 2 teams. And like you seem to say, and you know what? I am infuriated, and I hope Sharks win the minor premiership and win the whole thing. They always cop the slack for being shit against these sides, yet you guys do nothing against them anyway, in any scenario when it actually matters. And Cronulla do exactly the same thing, but Roosters, wow, they're the Sydney Roosters. They're different. They're not. Now, Robbo, if you're actually a good coach, you should give these boys a credit for winning this game and play them against Roosters. I don't care if Collins is back. Clearly, he's useless.
Warriors.
Clearly, he's useless.
Wow, hot. That's
I would literally, and I said this before, last year, if the true podcast listeners were listening last year as well, when Cowboys beat Roosters, which you can add that one to it as well, at $400 with no players, I said, Cowboys, if you do not start the same team that you played against them because all the Origin players didn't play, you'll lose. Ty Payton goes, no, all good. I'll bring Val back. I'll bring Talagi back.
And then next week they
literally got pumped. So
they went and got smashed by Warriors next week. Yeah.
So this is my case in point. Give the boys exactly what they deserve. They went out and beat the 4-time champions who, in any scenario, no one would have thought in the world Penrith would have lost this game, and beat them by outscoring Penrith and scoring 38 points against them. Sit there and go, you know what? We're going to New Zealand. Fuck you, Collins. I don't think Radley's back, but fuck you, Radley, as well. I'm playing these boys because clearly, you can clearly see from one week to another that this Roosters team, if they played half like that against Brisbane, they wouldn't have conceded 50. It's ridiculous. And Robbo will bring back Collins and bring back Radley if he's available and bring back whoever he wants, and the lineup will all look better and they'll be like, oh, Roosters won last week, all good. I guarantee you Warriors will win. So, congratulations on your victory, and thank you for my minor premiership future ticket on Cronulla for giving Penrith a loss, and now we only have to deal with Melbourne because Cronulla is going to beat these guys at the end. From the Penrith side, it's over. It's over, all right? I don't want to hear it from any fucking dickhead in the world. It's done. To concede 38 points to Roosters, that Roosters lineup, clearly they've found the nucleus to beat Penrith, and I've said it the whole time. Outscore them. They cannot physically put the ball over the line. They scored 34, which is a lot for Penrith. They still didn't win. 32. That's a lot for Penrith. They still didn't win. If you outscore their team, which the teams at the top can score points, i.e. Melbourne, i.e. Sharks, i.e. Manly, you outscore them, that's it. They're done. And now Edwards is out for 3 weeks as well. So maybe the injury cloud is coming for Penrith, and truly it is over.
Yeah, what I found fascinating actually watching this game in particular was literally, I think people will forget that in the second minute, Roosters conceded a call, and Alamotti literally walked through the teeth of their defense as if they weren't even there. I think one of the boys took a dummy and he just puts the ball under the post, and I was like, it's okay. Still have 3 converted tries on the spread. It's all right. It's early days. I've seen when you bet on sport for as long as we have, you know that sometimes the games just won't play out as easy as that. You know, when you're a massive favorite, think about it, right? Psychologically, if you were on Penrith, betting for as long as we have been, you're on minus 24.5, and you saw them score in 2 minutes, would you be like, oh, it's over, Roosters are dead?
Oh, yeah.
I would have been like, the
way they conceded.
Need a couple more.
Nah.
Don't let them back in the fight. And Penrith, what was extremely uncharacteristic of them in this game, and this is what Ivan was referring to in the post-game press conference, was the errors, the penalties, the ill-discipline really didn't look like Penrith at all. And the kind of reliance of shifting the ball and not sticking to their game plan was very un-Penrith-like. It's almost weird to watch them when they play like that because you're so used to seeing them in those stupid black jerseys run out there and just grind everybody to fucking death. And if one team over the past couple of years hasn't been prepared to grind, it's actually Roosters.
Yeah.
So when Roosters through the left edge actually scored straight away and made it 6-6, I was like, oh, thank God. At least they can score. That's good. Because
scoreboard pressure. Because
that wasn't even in the equation last week against Broncos, that they scored in 10 minutes and then they just gave up straight after that.
Yeah.
But they scored and then they scored again. And then Penrith scored and you're like, oh, fuck, all right, here comes Penrith. They'll probably be up 12 by halftime. Then Roosters scored. And then Penrith scored that dog shit try on halftime to get the game tied again. And you're like, fuck, that would probably break the Roosters back. They'll go into the sheds. being like, fuck, we're not even leading after all that. And they'll come out, Penrith will put 3 tries on them and they'll win by 18. And then Roosters scored again. And then Penrith came back
But
and
why did
scored some more
Roosters keep
garbage.
scoring?
Because Roosters, at the end of the day, regardless of who the fuck's in there or not, they are a high variance team. And the same way they were blowing teams out by 70 last year, when it works for them, they can actually put up 30 points against anyone.
100%.
Regardless of if they have 18-year-olds in the front row or 50-year-olds in the front row, it doesn't matter. Fahu White, Angus Crichton, all these boys, Wong, they legit were headhunting these Penrith boys, and the ability from Connor Watson, James Tedesco, continuously to be able to put pressure in the middle, and Penrith actually crumbled multiple times. Connor Watson scoring off a scoot right where Isaiah Yeo was. It's the same garbage as Fanua Blake scoring right under Isaiah Yeo last week, which has not honestly happened for 5 years with these guys. So shout out to the Roosters. It showed that if you just give a concerted, committed effort for 80 minutes, which seems hard to do in this sport for a lot of these teams, that you will be in the fight come the end. And Penrith really turned it on in that last 10, and obviously there was the sin bin, and you thought, here come the mighty Penrith Panthers. But once the Iceman hit the post on his conversion,
they didn't deserve to win.
Of course they did not deserve to win, but the cockroaches they don't go down easy, and very reliable on the wing. Daniel Tupou gives Toto the shove in the end to potentially save Golden Point, where God knows what would happen to these guys. And you get one of the biggest upsets in the history of the NRL, as you alluded to, Chris, second biggest upset ever. Shout out to Robbo, shout out to Teddy. Just a 10 out of 10. You literally couldn't have played any better if you were the Roosters. And Penrith, very un-Penrith-like performance. Not going to put a line through them after one game, although they have a death sentence next week, particularly minus Edwards, who hurt his groin in this one. But
8.5, incredible.
That's a big line. A 32-point swing in the spread from one week to another, which is fucking astronomical in my eyes. But shout out to Barnesy, shout out to J-Maz. Even the most avid Roosters fan looked at me and they were like, why are you taking Roosters? 24.5 is not enough. But they end up almost winning 13 plus if it wasn't for the backdoor covering at the end.
I'm sorry, Barnesy. I'm sorry, J-Maz. I've already booked it in my brain. You're going to lose the Warriors, aren't you?
Yeah, but you look, they beat Penrith at $11. So
they did it for us. That's pretty much it.
Today is not the day to come for me to be like, Roosters, you guys. Like, there's part of me that's like, this approach to the game, when all your talented players are there, maybe if you played half this good, you guys wouldn't go to Melbourne in the prelim, lose by 50, go to Bluebet, lose by 50, and some of those games would have been a bit closer. But at least Robbo showed that they haven't quit on him, they haven't mailed it in, they're not the dirt of the sport, they're not any of this, and they're still a respectable club. Even down troops, they went and got a massive win. Now, the big challenge for them is, all right, when the world said that you guys are dirt, you went and proved everyone wrong, and now that you're back to a 50-50 game. This is a pick 'em next week going to New Zealand. Now we'll see if you guys can back it up 1 week later.
Doubt it.
So that put a bow on a just ridiculous Friday night. Shout out to Owen, who took Warriors head-to-head and Roosters head-to-head.
That's nuts.
I've seen it all. Shout out to you, mate.
Wow.
They really played for you. And if you thought the underdogs were done, you were wrong, because Dragons were favourites. Shout out to the Zerfrost brothers.
Don't shout them out.
It's all right. I'm going to keep my composure. I'm coming on with a heavy heart in this pod to say, Dragons, you guys are fucking garbage.
Truly, there's only one team worse than you got. Two,
yeah.
Nah,
you guys are on a short
one.
list.
At least they have hope. They have one player coming.
I'll get to them. Fuck this dog shit as well. But Dragons, I cannot fathom how you guys ended up losing this game. Only Dragons could go up 12 and then lose by
Only
one.
Dragons could lose.
Yeah. By one.
There's no one else that could lose a game like this. And look, I think it just comes down to even, just Val himself. He actually screwed the whole game. And the fact you could have been up 14, 16, even if you kicked one, it would have been 14. You would have won this game. South would have mailed it in. But you gave him hope. You give him a dumbass knock-on. They go score off that set. And all of it,
even worse, it was the stupid fucking little forward pass after scoring, you moron.
And that's it. Shout out to South. Let's just say it first. You could have mailed it in. This is what Wayne brings, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys do mail it in for 30 to 35 minutes of every game, minimum. Anyone that is a South fan that wants to fight me on that, literally, there's moments in every single game they've mailed it in. Because it looks like it. You don't tackle anyone. You let the middle of the field, pew. But you guys don't quit like you used to. Before, we used to do that for 5 minutes, concede. You were like, fuck, this is too hard.
If this JD's
Can't be bothered.
JD's South team would have lost probably like 32-10 or something in this game. But
And that's the Wayne effect. And you know what? I don't know why. Like, I don't know how old Humphreys was, but I don't even know why you even thought about Ilias or thought about Dodd or any. This kid is good, and he does his job. And the best thing is, he's not a liability on defense. He's a big boy, and for South, they need as many defenders as possible because when the middle of the park's open, it's a freeway going through. But other than that, South deserve 2 wins. I think both their games, they've shown heart, even though they're actually not talented at all. The third game is going to be a much bigger test, and good luck next week. But now that you have a few injuries as well, like, it just gets bad to worse. Like, even the reserves that were supposed to play are now injured.
yeah, Hubner's out for next week.
Tallis
Cam Murray
Duncan.
2.0, Tallis Duncan is out.
So-
Like, the bodies are dropping like
The
flies.
bodies are dropping like flies. So you're 2-0, but there is a lot of injuries. Obviously, there's your 2 weeks, 2 wins that you have no Latrell, but the way the bodies are going, I don't even know where it's going to fit in.
South
So-
have 2 wins with an average winning margin of 1.5.
Yeah,
Which is comical, but
but that's South, right?
that just shows that literally 15 other coaches coaching this South team would be 0-2.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So
Or
maybe
Bellamy would get one.
Yeah. Bellamy is the one that
Maybe Ricky.
no.
I'm giving Ricky's max praise. Don't worry about
No,
that. It's coming to
Ricky's
that.
getting max praise, but this South roster's absolutely
Yeah, the Raiders
horrific.
roster's better right now.
Yeah.
Right now. Not
Without Murray and
yeah.
Latrell and Johnston and
Yeah,
White
if you bring them all in, yeah.
this guy literally went on
With
the
Myers.
road with Myers and won.
Yeah.
Down 12 with like 15 minutes to go.
All right, let's get to Dragons because that's the more entertaining part.
This was really bad, boys.
Nothing's changed.
I don't know how you recover from this loss for
Literally
Dragons.
nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And
No, a lot's changed.
the concern is, out of all the teams, every team has an excuse. Cowboys even have an excuse. Dolphins have an excuse. Para have an excuse. They played Melbourne. You guys literally have no excuse whatsoever. The first game at home, the whole crowd is on your side. Didn't look like a chance of winning that game.
28-6 in 50 minutes.
Didn't look like a chance. And this game led 24-12 and lost 25-24. Both games at home, both against opposition that you could easily beat in if you guys had turned the corner or lost by 2 and beat South convincingly, you'd be like, okay, Dragons are
They're
fine.
all right, yeah.
But losing both at home and to start your year 0-2, there's no team in the league that has played 2 games at home and lost both of them. And at the moment, if there weren't for the performances of the other 2, some of these teams, literally you would be last in my power rankings. And deservedly, because you should have won one of them. And you guys are just the same garbage. There's nothing learned from this team from last year. It's the same. And the problem is you don't have Hunt and Lomax anymore, so they can't save you. And that's the issue. Because when you look at Ilias and you look at Flanagan, you're like, well, they can't save us. We're just going to give up. And those periods of giving up were there last year as well. But at least you had talent to get out of it. You don't even have that. It's seriously dire hours. If you're a Dragon supporter, you better hope either Cowboys or Parramatta literally mail it in for the year. Otherwise, Dragons will come last. Titans. Literally, you guys will come last.
Dragons, they're really bad.
They're awful.
When I think back to the preseason pod we did where we were judging every team.
Well,
going
people
into the
wanted our
season.
head because
And-
they were so
and
good
I
at
was like,
preseason.
the more I think about Dragons, they're really bad. And you were like, no, they're not that bad. They have these players and whatever. I was like, you can't replace Hunt and Lomax with this and run out there and think you're going to be any better. You were already lucky to be in contention of the 8 with them, right? So I was like, there's nothing redeeming about this
But
team.
to get them to last is pretty bad.
The way you fell in this game was really, 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 really concerning. Because in the blink of an eye, you guys are down 12-4 anyway, just like this. Right?
That Peter
and I was
try
like,
was something else.
The Mamazora's try was fucking despicable. And Shane Flanagan made reference to that in his post-game presser where he was like, Fuck me, boys. Like, is that the best we can dish out to concede to Peter on the try line? Shameful. But there's good patches in there, you know? I thought Couchman came on. He was fantastic in the middle of the park. Gutho was busy. He was everywhere on the field. Moses Sully was dealing with his rib problem. He looked horrible. Val couldn't kick 1 out of 50 goals to actually get a proper lead. He was shit house as well.
Oh, Tui Piloto scored.
Tui Piloto, the money man, he got over, which made me laugh. Su'a was busy. Like, there's efforts within the team, and there's patches of good play.
But collectively, they just... But within a second, it's done.
When I watch Dragons, and I see them playing good, for that 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, in this window where they're playing gun, they need like 4 converted tries.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get it, I know come hella high water, like even when they got to 24-12, right? And we've seen so far that whether you're $10 or you're $1.03, if you get a bunch of momentum and you don't mess it up, you can blow out the scoreboard very quickly.
Correct.
Dragons, I'm convinced, are the only inbreds in the league that would score the try to go up 24-12 and immediately throw a forward pass in the next set and concede on top of it. Right? Okay, you threw a forward pass, sure. But within 45 seconds, Cody Water is under the try line scoring already. And I'm like, we're on -6.5 because at this point, Chris was like, you know, Dragons have this advantages on like the outside of the park, and you can't run out Myers against Sully and Val. And again, every single time Dragons got down there, they pretty much scored.
Yeah.
And they got to 24 without even blinking an eye. They scored 5 tries to get to 24 because this dickhead couldn't kick 1 goal. And a competent, well-organized, well-structured team with leadership on the field would score the 24-12 try, kick in the corner, tackle Souths on the 10-meter line, make Souths kick it once, and then you would literally have 30-12 and the game would be over. But no, you idiots don't know how to close out a game, immediately throw a forward pass, concede a try, immediately score another try. And then with 5 minutes to go, Ilias has the ball on 4th tackle. And he's just like, oh, okay, I'll just bomb it cross field instead of going for a field goal. And Ilias has been Ilias is the heir to the throne of Adam Reynolds, supposedly. He's played a bunch of first grade games. Humphreys literally has played 2 first grade games, and he was like, oh, fuck it, I'll have a crack. And I'll try. Well, it's 5th and last. None of the Dragons players put any pressure on him, and he just slots it over, and then Dragons just mail it in from there. 25,
especially 24. When you have Val in your team as well. Like, he's a good field goal taker as well.
So, in terms of the way they lost, this was really bad from Dragons, in my opinion.
I don't know what's forward for these. Like, they're literally done. I don't even know who they... Did they have a bye next week?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Like, how much better would morale be if you guys just get that win, go into your bye, and come out in round 4? Now it's like, we're going to sleep on the fact that we quit to Souths for 14 days. That's what you guys have to do now. So, shout out to whoever took the points with Souths, took them on the money line. Yeah, like, idiots. I guess it really just proved that you can't put Dragons $1.40 to anyone. And lesson learned for the pod, I think that was probably not one of our sharpest picks. But I liked them. We weren't down for too long, baby. The Cronulla Sharks came out for war in Townsville, and we weren't right about many things this round. But I feel like both rounds, Chris, and this is one point I wanted to make, actually, and it's fascinating. We're incapable of winning a close game.
Yeah, I know.
Every single win we've had has been by like 40 points.
Except for Cowboys.
What do you mean?
It was close until the second. Like,
there's nothing close when you play Cowboys, and I'll get to that. But it's either we win by 40 or we've lost. We either lose by 40 or lose by 1, lose by 2. But these like 50-50 games just don't go our way. So thankfully, we played Cowboys next. And look, the wooden spoon take at $19. Chris came out last round. His round-wide analysis was, all right, we have a hierarchy of these 5 teams, and it's literally impossible for these loser teams to beat the top 5 teams. And immediately, Penrith lose, Manly lose.
Well, Brisbane lost.
Broncos go on to lose. And the one team that just couldn't figure out anything was this Cowboys side. And they actually look absolutely horrible as a lineup, as a unit, on the field. There's really, I can't think of one single redeeming quality about this team that I could be like, oh, at least they do that well.
You know what? when I first said the take, oh yeah, these 5 teams are a cut above everyone else, everyone was like, well, can you really include Sharks in there? They weren't great. You're right, but they're the only one who won this week. Yeah. And they still didn't play great. Truly just shows how bad Cowboys are. You know what? Next week, like, I don't think the line can get big enough for them.
I just thought of something really funny.
In my opinion, like, they literally showed nothing in a Cronulla performance that wasn't great. And that's what gives me promise out of Cronulla. Like, obviously, they can continue this the whole year and not work it out. But like I've said 1,000 times, the team that's going to work it out the most is the ones that are going to play together the most. Unfortunately, that's Cronulla. And you're going to have 24 games of the same team with the same lineup and the same amount of players all there. And people are going to go, oh, okay, yeah, that's good. Like, they're eventually going to get it together. And they won this game simply because Cowboys just are dreadful.
Yeah.
And Cronulla just had enough. And, like, when you look at the full-time score, you're like, oh, yeah, Cronulla beat them by 24. That's normal. But it was close. It was 16-6. And they conceded 20 points in 20 minutes.
Yep.
And like that, it was over.
So I feel like the game started off quite competitively. That first 10 minutes, it was set for set. Cowboys couldn't help themselves. They make one error. Don't defend it. 6-0, whatever.
I thought they would have mailed it in.
They continue to like go set for a while, which Sharks, you could just see them develop, like getting the ascendancy. But
couldn't put the ball
clinical Sharks where they're like firing on all cylinders, convert that possession into points, but it just kind of wasn't happening for a very long time in this game. And they score again, and then Cowboys hit back on that stupid try off the kick, which meant nothing to me. They, with ball in hand, previous Cowboys teams could bail themselves out of their inability to defend their own line and stay in the ground by scoring. And with the ball in hand, if the ball wasn't getting kicked across field into 20, like a zone of 20 players where anything can happen, they didn't even come close to scoring in that first half until that very end where Will Kennedy saved the Sharks from potentially, for no reason, going into halftime 16-12 by pushing out Taulagi on the wing. I feel like people call Kennedy out a lot in terms of the Sharks.
Was fantastic.
Sharks in the grand scheme competing for a premiership, but I think he's actually one of the better fullbacks in the league. He just doesn't really get any accolades for no reason.
And he played great in the Penrith game too.
He does nothing wrong. He's very reliable. Doesn't drop it.
Go put Eason in. See what happens.
He's a good player, right? So
put Hines there. Then
you have 16-6 at halftime. Sharks haven't been great. They've just kind of done their job, and Cowboys, half these players shouldn't have a job. Moving into the second half, Sharks is just playing with their food for a bit. Cowboys just mess it. I forgot the funniest shit of the round, actually.
Purdue.
Was immediately after Cowboys scored their first try in the first half, they shifted it off the kickoff and dropped it.
Yeah, that was...
And I was like, it's the same old Cowboys. Like, they can't help themselves, and immediately conceded to Nicaragua with 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, this is going to end up being 40-6 or something because it's Cowboys. But Sharks going to play with their food for a little bit. You have the Stone Street runaway where Purdue ends up getting sin-binned. For no reason, Cowboys actually randomly became resilient and were actually taking the fight to Sharks in that 10 minutes, but just couldn't like get enough completions through to actually get down the other end. Purdue comes back on. They immediately concede when it's 13-13 and then completely mail it in. A few like pointless 6 agains and penalties went in the Sharks' favour on 4th and 5th tackle late in the game. And it's Cowboys. You can only expect them to try for so long before they give up. And they gave up in the last 20. That's why you get the scoreboard blowing up to 40.
Should it have been 24? Probably not. Would it have been 12 and we sit here and still Cowboys say their ass? Yeah, okay. We would have said the same thing.
There is a scenario where Cowboys could have lost by 12.
Yeah.
And we would have been like, they're garbage.
Yeah.
And there's also a scenario where they would have lost 50-6.
Yeah, because that first half.
Because I feel like they caught Sharks on a good day. Yeah. And Craig Fitzgibbon, in his post-game presser,
we were garbage.
Said... I'm glad we won, and I can say this, because if I had said it before or after a loss, it would have come across as an excuse, but our preparation has been absolutely horrible. We were the only team that went to Vegas and then played a road game immediately after, right? So logistically, Vegas to Townsville is a shocking draw, and he said 10 of our squad got COVID and hadn't been able to train until like 3 days before the game. And they had to go play in that humidity, blah, yada, yada, yada. So he was
you're just making my case. These cunts are going to come last.
Yeah. This is why I was like, there's nothing good about this Cowboys team. And like I said before, they could score. Now they can't even score. they're still running out of, like, Braden Burns is injured. So imagine who the reserve for Braden Burns is. And they're going to slot him next to Vailea.
Semi playing?
Valemaya, we do like him on the
I
pod.
do like him.
But even that first try, like, this is not Greg Inglis, right? Like, Iro is a good centre. And 5 minutes in, he just throws Vailea into another postcode and puts the ball on the try line. Second try was
they're going to have both of them on one end.
Second try was just Blake Brayley comes out of dummy half and just like, Nicorai here, just go put it down. And he's like, okay, try. Ronaldo got a try. Stone Street got a try. Like, it was just saying, it's just
shit.
It's just shit. And again, Toddy Payton, like, he looks lost for answers, lost for words even. Like, his press conferences get progressively shorter by the week. So last week's one was 4 minutes. This week's one was 3 minutes 30. So I'm expecting next week's
what is he
week's
going to
one
say in that
when they
Brisbane
lose 70-0 to Broncos. I mean, he might not even rock up. He'll just he'll come in, put his resignation on the table, be like, these cunts are beyond help, and that'll be the end of it. So if there is a team that takes the spoon off Cowboys, it's going to have to be another despicable outfit because Cowboys are really, really bad. And that's all I really have to say about them.
Yeah, I've got nothing to say. Like, they're last. And at the moment, I would still have them last. Below
Power rankings, wise?
Below power.
Is there any excuse that they've played two very difficult opponents? And you know what? Maybe like it would look different if they played someone.
Not what I just heard about Cronulla. They didn't even play like...
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, yeah. And there's actually a scenario where Cronulla like execute better and Manly play for 80 minutes that you guys after 2 rounds are 100-0.
Literally.
Which is really scary.
Cronulla could have scored. Cronulla scored 36 with literally they wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I feel bad for South already.
Yeah, so I just
these guys like as
horrible.
per Wolf would say, because we're gonna use the same. They get to go home and sleep in their beds and have a great time
and destroy South.
Destroy South at the new Shark Park.
Yeah.
Good luck to South.
Yeah, but anyway, moving on to another one of the
ambush.
A massive, massive ambush, and this is where the pod can come and have a quick flex for that game. The Raiders getting 12.5 at home. We said. We had our hesitation and our question marks on Brisbane front running against that Roosters team. And a lot of what I said was, look, sure, the scoreboard blew out, but these guys were scoring some garbage. And can you just expect them to go and win 13 plus in another hostile environment next week? After how well the Raiders performed in week 1, probably not. But again, Chris, completely shocked by how the game played out. Raiders from start to finish never even really broke a sweat and looked like losing this one. And the Broncos just looked out of answers. Raiders physically imposed their will on them, and the Broncos crumbled under that physicality. What did you see in this one, mate?
Well, I saw exactly the same thing, but I'll say what I said in week 1. They may have won 50-14, which just explains the Roosters. Anyway, they're not playing match football, and they haven't for 2 weeks. And I actually think I don't know. Did you watch the match post game?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
He was like,
you know what I would have said? I would have said I would have been like, this is what the boys deserve. They need to wake up and listen to me.
He along the line said that. He was like, I learned a lot about my team tonight, about some individuals, and I can take a lot out of tonight's job, essentially, and apply it to next week.
Yeah, well, look, it's the same. The Brisbane team needs to sit there and go, look, first of all, let me go back one step. Brisbane were the most hyped team going into week 2. Everyone after week 1 was like, wow.
Yeah. Probably them and Manly.
Them and Manly, which conveniently both lost. And Penrith, which all 3 of them lost. But what I'm saying is Brisbane were the most hyped. I probably sat on the fence coming on the podcast being like, all right, they're great, but they didn't play like match. If they keep doing this, they're going to make grand final like they did with Kevy. Exactly the same. But what we saw last year was that it doesn't work. And you play a Raiders team which is the complete opposite of what Broncos showed up, and it showed that playing simple, basic footy at its best is truly the best way of winning games overall.
Literally.
There is nuances, Melbourne, Manly. I feel like Cronulla is more the tradition, like closer to the traditional than Melbourne and Manly. They're more, we'll throw the footy around. But they have the talent. They have talent everywhere, and they're able to pull it off. They're much more consistent what Brisbane is. Brisbane is either we score 60 or we can't score at all. And Reece Walsh, a 0 out of 10 for your performance on the weekend. 0.
Captain of Voids FC for you?
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of a worse player.
He was awful.
Yeah, he was
and
terrible.
It stems from him, right? He throws the footy around. He likes to throw the footy around, which is fine. But Madge football is not this. And I said it in week 1, and they got found out in week 2, which I think Madge would be in there. See, I told you guys. If you guys are going to play like you did against Roosters every single week, you're going to come 11th again. And that's probably what will happen if they continue doing this. If Madge is truly at the helm, we will see it against Cowboys, and Cowboys will lose by a new record that would be broken. I'm predicting from this moment going forward, if you want to see a record, tune into Friday night. I truly think there might be a record coming because this Broncos team is, 1, going to be pissed.
Yeah.
2, Cowboys have given in already. And on top of that, Madge is going to be there. All right, you tried it your way. Let's try it our way. And that's exactly not what Cowboys want to see. Cowboys want to see them throw the footy around and, maybe knock it on a few times. If they play the way Madge wants them to play, they'll literally lose by 80.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And now this flip side of the coin, because Broncos, I had enough of them because they pissed me off. Because I knew it was going to happen and everyone hyped them anyway. Raiders are truly the second highest power ranked team at the moment. They've come back from Vegas and literally doubled down on what they performed in Vegas. In Vegas, they were good. They had errors. Back at home, they didn't have any errors, and they played fantastic. And it just shows how great Ricky Stewart is. The idiots he has on this team. And no matter what, every year, he always lets go of more morons. And he still gets them to show up every week. I mean, who's this British guy, Matty Nicholson?
He played gun, yeah.
What type of second... exactly built what you want from a second row. Tall, strong, can hit the line hard. Where's this guy been? And Raiders develop him, get him ready. They put him in the lineup, and he scores 2 tries. And that edge, it's not... Ben Hunt is a middle defender. He plays origin through the middle of the park. He looked like he couldn't defend anything against this guy. So... Look, the Raiders, simple footy, basic footy, kick to the corners, complete your sets, and tackle hard. And look, without Tarpany and without Savage, they looked amazing. And I'm not going to put them first because Melbourne's played 1 game and wow. So they're first. But Raiders are a distinct second. I think at the moment, they're the second hottest team in the comp, and they play, our team, I would say. They play the Manly Seagulls, which is going to be a really tight contest depending on who comes in for Manly. So... regardless, Raiders are going to go there and really show up. I think Raiders were ultra impressive. Unfortunately, they're not the most impressive of the round because the eye of the tiger has to be at number 1. But
well, I'll say Roosters because they literally ran out with nothing and won at $11.
They're going to lose to the Warriors.
But that's fine. Look, Raiders, what a performance. Shout out to you, Charles Kroon. I know you're watching, mate. Up the milk. What a fantastic win from these guys. And as I alluded to earlier, sometimes when big underdogs win, it's... there was a sin bin, there was an intercept try, there was a bunch of errors from the opposition, a couple of bomb tries. But in this one, the errors were forced. The physicality of the Raiders was what was causing Broncos to be like, I don't want to get driven back 5 or 10 meters. Let me try and offload it. Oh, fuck, they've dropped it again. And the pressure from the Raiders was just relentless for 80 minutes. It was charging to the line as hard as you can, get that ascendancy, offload the ball to the next guy who can then also charge into the line as hard as humanly possible. And they just come at you in waves. Hudson, Timoko, Weeks, Matty Nicholson. Shout out to Big Red Corey Horsburgh, who was out there headhunting straight away. Josh Papali winded back the clock. Didn't even look like they missed a beat with Tarpany not being in the middle of the park. It's been a big difference in my mind having Tom Starling as opposed to having Danny Levi in the middle of the field as well.
100%.
He's sort of more built to follow the forwards into battle and sort of build that ascendancy through the middle and out wide. Look, shout out to Jamal Fogarty. I did not see this at Titans, that he is probably the most underrated player in the entire competition.
Yeah.
And when Raiders were actually going on their run at the start of last year and winning all those games, it was coincided with Fogarty tearing his bicep that they went 0-50 in the next 12 games. And conveniently, when he came back, they actually started springing upsets again at the end of the season. I think of all 17 teams, this is probably the team I had wrong the most so far. I had these guys in the bottom 4. I thought they lacked direction, they lacked discipline, yada, yada, yada. But defensively, they've looked fantastic. With the ball in hand, they've looked fantastic. The effort, the consistency, the application of Ricky's game plan has been 10 out of 10 so far. And I can't fault them once. 7 tries against Broncos. did not see that coming, even though we were under 12.5. And I was like, look, that's a few too many points and all this rubbish. But they went, boom, 12-0. Broncos got it back to 12-10 because it's Broncos. They can score in the blink of an eye. Scored before halftime to show them, no, we're here to stay. Came out after halftime, scored twice again. At one point, this was 30-10, which...
32-10.
32-10, which is just fucking incredible.
Absolutely.
So they just blew them off the park,
They
essentially.
smashed them.
Broncos, you guys have really fucked yourselves because you've actually given...
you.
Hey?
You're more pissed at them I am. I'm like, yeah, right. I saw this coming.
They have actually given the blueprint to the rest of the NRL of how you beat Brisbane.
Yeah. But that's how you beat Brisbane, Cronulla, and Manly. All the same. Like, they have that in them, that they can just make a bunch of errors. But I actually think slowly Brisbane and Manly are becoming their own nucleus, and Cronulla's taking themselves away from it.
I don't think the Sharks are intimidated by physical play in the middle of the field.
No. See, Sharks, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're taking away
My
from
specific point, I don't even think Manly are either.
No, they
Manly,
are. With Simp, they are.
Manly, when everyone last year were like, they're going to fucking back down to this Dogs forward pack, they actually mauled them.
Yeah,
right?
no.
But Brisbane, sure, Haas is going to carry the ball 50 times and he's going to be hard to bring down. Sure, Carrigan's going to do the same shit, but at a certain point of the game, these guys actually physically back down to these other big packs.
Yeah, they do.
And for all the talent they have, like, they can't mentally get themselves to a position where they can play that physical style for 80 minutes. And at some point, they will crumble. Same garbage in the Dolphins win and get in situation last year where it was Felice Kafusi and all these boys going shots on. And after 20 minutes, Broncos were like, fuck, it's getting too hard. Let's resort to offloads and let's see if Reece can do something out back for us. And Reece was just...
It was awful.
Was horrible on Saturday. Not taking anything away from him as a player. It was one night. I'm sure he'll be back. He'll learn from it. He'll be better.
Yeah, I wonder what's
He's
gonna
still
happen.
a gun player. Cowboys, I'm sorry. Like, you guys are getting murdered on Friday, aren't you? But that was a good old-fashioned Canberra ambush, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching Brisbane get humbled like that.
I know it was garbage time, and they scored 2 tries. They lost by 10, and they didn't have Ezra and Staggs. And just relax.
Yeah. Look,
Like,
no one's...
I know they didn't have Tarpany and Savage, but they played out of their skin anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Look, they had enough to go there and be 10-point favourites and win, right?
No. There's no excuse. But they can play better, obviously.
Of course, yeah. Which will Cowboys again? Just I don't know. Put a petition in. Can we get a bye in week 3? We need time to sort things out. Moving on to Sunday. Rising up,
back on the street.
The mighty Tigers. Shout out to Harry. Shout out to everybody.
Shout out to Charlie
In Tiger Nation, Charlie Lynch. Shout out to you, my friend. The West Tigers put me out of my misery and they get their first win in the season 2025.
Mate, I told you they got us.
It was a very impressive victory. The Orange and Black Wall have now conceded the least amount of points in the competition, including Melbourne, who have played one less game with them. Shout out to Matt for that post that he shared to us. Just baffles me that how many... If I was to ask you, Chris, who's the number 1 defense after 2 weeks, how many teams would you have... Like, before the season started, how many teams would you have named before you told me Tigers?
A lot of them. Okay,
except
maybe.
Cowboys and Titans.
No. Well, they did have Knights and Para. You got to add that in.
I agree. I understand. But
and if you knew Para didn't have Moses, you'd be like...
But,
well,
look, in Sydney today, it was 37 degrees.
Yeah.
It was fucked.
And they actually shouldn't even conceded 6. That was last minute.
Yes.
So
essentially, they held Para to 0, where, I'm done... In my heart of hearts, think the Warriors' offense is that much better than the Para one.
No.
I don't think the the Dragons' offense is that much better than the Para one.
No.
And the South's offense was fucked. Like, they have one player, essentially.
Yeah.
And they went and scored 25. Warriors scored 36. The only team that consistently has, even the Knights' tries last week were dog shit tries, right? So... I don't think anyone saw that side of the Tigers showing up in season 2025, so I was impressed by that, Chris. What did you make of their big win in this one, mate?
The defense was great, but defense gets helped by how good the offense was, and especially Bullard, please, just don't get injured the whole year. Absolutely incredible. Captains of Team of the Week, in my opinion. Bullard was amazing. And, he did bomb his own try, but... Other than that, literally whenever he got the ball, it was like scary hours. And Para just couldn't deal with him at all. Overall, Para had a lot of ball, and Tigers beat him away. And I think a few people will be like, well, they got lucky in the Knights game. They had a lot of missed tackles. They're just desperate. But they've done it again now. So you can't really be like, oh, they got lucky in the Knights game. Or they got lucky against Para. And, well, not really. They played in 35-degree heat against a team that typically likes playing in the heat as well. And they like playing in the sunshine at Bankwest, regardless of no Moses.
They shouldn't like playing at all.
Yeah, I know. But Moses didn't play, obviously. But in saying that, like, Moses could have played today, and this Tigers team, the way they played, would have won as well. And Tigers were typically, like, unfathomably great across everywhere. The whole team played fantastic. Bulla, Galvin backing up. Coruscant, interesting, he came off after 30 minutes, but I felt like that was the conditions more than anything else.
Benji said he's underdone currently.
Yeah, I feel like it was the conditions. I feel like he's not going to do that week in, week out. But again, your boy De Silva played all right.
They asked him about it, actually. There's like, is this the plan going forward, that you have a 1-2 punch? And Benji was like, we'll take it week by week.
Yeah.
So he's not really committing
No,
to it.
I don't. I think like Coruscant did, like, help. Did he do a lot? No. My boy Stafford Tolo. Thank God we have a center. Maybe you don't need Taylor May, because I think Dewey actually, even though
He can't run.
he's lifeless, he makes the right decisions at center, which I like, and he can kick the ball. And that was why we scored that try before half-time to get them up to 16-0. So I don't think someone like Taylor May would do something like that, even though Taylor May can be something like more explosive. Terrell May, fantastic. I don't know how he got through that much work and didn't come off. He played 65 minutes straight in that
Wow,
heat.
what a knock.
What a knock from him. By that point, I don't think he came back on. Like, I didn't watch the end of the game, but I don't think he came back on. There was no reason to. It was over. Down the Parramatta side, I'm still going to give him hope. I don't think they'll come last. Look, out of all the teams that are down there, Dolphins have everyone. Cowboys, whatever they have is everyone. And Dragons have everyone. The only team that's underdone is Parramatta. Yes, does it look bad that you lost 32-6 to Tigers? 100%, because you shouldn't have lost by that much. You shouldn't have let Taruva score 3 tries. Sure. But
Mate, Para fucking horrible.
But they have a player. And he may be a halfback. He may be one player. But when he is there, Parramatta are much, 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 much better. And this just, I can give you history about this. He came back the day before, well, the week of Origin, against a Cronulla side that was absolutely stacked, and Parramatta beat them. And they only had 5 wins the whole fucking year. So, in my opinion, when Moses is there, it's a different element, especially at Bankwest. What they were saying on the broadcast is probably about still 5 weeks away, which is...
Yeah, they're going to be 0-7 by the time he comes back. What's the point?
No, they play Dragons. But
They'll lose to Dragons. They're so bad.
It's my case. I think they still will not come last. I'm putting them third last in my power ranking simply because they played Melbourne. At least that's one. Dragons, awful. 2 home games, 2 losses. Cowboys, despicable.
Yeah.
So
Cowboys is the easy one where it's like you can't put anyone below them.
No, you can't.
But
I would I put them below Titans?
I would have Para tied with Cowboys. Equal 17.
What about Titans?
No. They're bad, but these two can't. Like, Para are shambles. Absolute shambles.
Yeah, I know.
Like, God. And microscope time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very alarmed with Jason Ryle so far. This guy, like, he has not improved anything.
Well, it doesn't look like it.
If anything, they've gone backwards.
Yeah.
I don't think the Brad Arthur-led Parramatta Eels without Moses would go and lose 32-6 today. They would lose 32-14.
I still think you're under putting Tigers.
No. Because I saw Para also last week almost concede 50 in one half.
No,
These guys are just terrible.
I don't think Tigers are genuinely probably 9th in my power.
No.
They're up there.
Mate,
they're almost in the 8th.
Mate, we have them the same. I'm not underrating Tigers. Tigers
You're
are...
just saying Para are worse than I think.
Yeah. How can you defend them?
I like them.
There's nothing good about them.
Look, they have Moses, all right? Just wait.
That doesn't cover enough of like 50 and a half and 32 nil.
I think it does.
No, it doesn't.
I think it does. I think it puts them above Cowboys.
Sure. Okay, you're 16th. That's not good enough.
It's not. No, but
Bro, their players are not that bad. They have fucking Lomax.
I don't know why they're mailing it in.
They're shit. And their coach is shit. Like, the way he carried himself in the press conference was fucking pedestrian. He already is out of answers. The first thing is like, yeah, there was a lot of good things we did today. I'm like, brother, it was literally 32-0. Can you at least say, yeah, we played fucking god awful, we need to be better? You're already making excuses of, yeah, I'm proud of the boys, like they tried. Sure, everyone tries, except Cowboys. Everyone tries. And they're not a smart footy team. They're not a particularly resilient footy team. Like, after all that, because this was actually a deadlock, right? 25 minutes with no points until until Taruva scores in the corner for his first try. And Para had ample opportunity on the Tigers' try line. And you get a set restart and you peg the ball at Jack Williams and he drops it immediately after you get the set restart. Like, it's just dumb footy. There's nothing redeeming about Para as well. Like, I'm going to get the Titans, who are horrible as well in their first
But they have
outing.
one thing going for them.
But you could say that there's good parts about pretty much every team. The only two teams that I've seen nothing from so far is Para and Cowboys.
I don't know.
Now, if you want
Dragons are this close.
Oh, there's nothing really about Dragons either. They fucking just have been embarrassed themselves. Dolphins, they have hope because I've seen it with this same roster before. But in terms of, if you want to give me Huss, they've got Moses coming back, and that's enough of a reason to put them above Cowboys. I'll listen to that. That works for me. But that's it. That's it with these guys.
Look, I'm saying, Matt, I'm sorry, and I don't know if you've tuned in already because we're just about to get the Dogs. Genuinely, that could be my upset alert next week.
That's sure, fine, but
I actually genuinely think they might beat them.
I genuinely think they're fucking horrible, Chris. I don't think for some reason, like, you're blinded by the fact that you like them. Take last year's Para and take it down 2 notches. That's them right now. And all I heard, what actually infuriates me is all I've heard for 4 years of Jason Riles being on the coaching candidacy of somebody grab him is, and it's always the same in this scenario that, oh, this guy worked under Bellamy and Robbo and he knows what a winning culture is and he knows that its defense wins championships, and immediately they come and they can't defend. It happened with Serraldo, it happened with Fitzgibbon, well, not really Fitzgibbon, he walked into a better situation, but
well, Serraldo's first year
they went out and conceded
awful.
50 a game. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
They did.
Oh, yeah, the first couple of games. And then they
770
started
points.
to defend.
Yeah, they started to quit. Yeah, they were horrible. But Jason Riles, like, okay, you can't score. Sure, okay. Moses is in there. You can't score. You guys literally have conceded like 96 points. And Melbourne didn't score for the last half an hour.
Just
There's actually a scenario where Para in 2 weeks could have conceded 120 points.
Listen.
This is not good enough.
All right, just wait. There's a player on that field that's just been paid $30 million. Are you worried about the rest of the players on the player?
I'm worried about the club.
No. The club is fucked if Moses is not there, right? Just think about this. There's a player that Knights probably coaching staff watched today's game to watch Dylan Brown. Did he even play?
Well, what did you make of his performance? Horrible.
Awful.
Terrible, yeah. He was terrible.
And, like, Para have him for the rest of the year, and the day by day, they're probably like, how the fuck did this cunt get 13 mil?
Yeah, well, that's what pretty much the whole community thinks.
He's, like, he is supposed to lead this team now. Moses isn't there. And he doesn't, like, there's no leadership whatsoever.
Oh, he's leading them all right.
He's
into the ground.
Into the ground. So you're worried about the player that's getting $13 million in the next 10 years past this year, and you're comparing him to players like Russell. If they see fucking Dylan Brown doing dick all, what do you think? Sean Russell's going to go start tackling?
Well, this is what I'm telling you. They're in shambles for this
They're in
reason.
shambles.
They have one, like, GOAT player who's not there for 7 weeks.
Yeah, but when he comes back, you'll be like, boys.
And in the meantime, they have a player that's already, like, come to them in the locker room and be like, see you guys later, I'm going to Knights to play with Kalen. And how can you, like, look at him in the huddle after you concede the 4th try to Senior Taruva and be like, all right, now we're going to go and muscle up in the middle of the field. Para, shout out to Seabass if you even want one.
Seabass. Is he alive?
They're in dire fucking situation. This is really bad. And Jason Riles, you have a lot of work to do, my
Just don't
friend.
come last, boys. You could do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, some technical difficulties. A lot of audio was just wasted in the last probably 20 minutes of us discussing the Dogs and Titans game,
want to add like
ranting about Jason Riles and how much of a dog shit job he's done in Para so far. No redeeming quality in this team whatsoever.
That's enough.
They literally have regressed in every aspect of their game, and they have a lot of soul searching to do. They have been horrible. Shout out to the Tigers, a great win from you boys. On to Dogs. Chris, just copy paste what you said 10 minutes ago.
All right, well,
shoot for the stars.
Yeah, Titans, like you watched 2 weeks worth of footy from the game at Vegas to now, and literally you went out in 20 minutes and just showed me exactly what you guys are for the whole year. My concern is Des more than anything else. Like, what is he even doing at this point? It literally looks like he's just going out there, just been like, you know what? These boys aren't fixable. They're just going to play their own game. They're coaching me. I'm not coaching them.
Regardless of who's coached Titans, it's always been the same.
Yeah, and that's the concern, right? They can't defend anything. Sure, they can peg the ball at Canberra and score. That, you know what? Fine, but other than that, like they can't defend anything, and it showed in the first 20 minutes. They outplayed. You know, as soon as it got into a tussle of a game against the Dogs forwards, they were just like, all right, you know what? This is too hard. I can't be bothered. And they went down 22-0, and they're like, you know what? From here, now we're coming back. Like, come on, bro. It's Titans. And they did ping it back, and at halftime, they came out, and they were only down 12, and, you thought you had a chance with the spread of 8, but it's the same old Titans. In 2 seconds, they fuck it up. Don't know what Des said at halftime. Whatever it was, didn't work because these guys went out there and gave up, as they always do, and lost again. So, look, to be honest, nothing I saw from Titans that showed me that, this team's different than last year. It's the same fucking shit. And it's going to continue most of this year. So all the guys that said, why'd you got Titans second last in your predictions? They deserve to be there. Maybe they're not as bad as Para or Dragons because they've only played one game, but they can be. And they have the capability of being that bad based on how they play. Because if they just throw the footy around, they're just going to fuck it up. Then they will come that low. If it's going to work, which it will, and I assume it will in a few games, then they won't come last. But they're truly awful. And Dogs, shout out to you guys. You've played 2 great games, 2 decently teams that are a bit mediocre, but they're definitely a team that you should be winning, and you won convincingly in this one. The big part, and I'll leave it to you, is the aftermath of this victory, because you won the battle, but probably not the war at this point.
Yeah, Dogs, you did your job in the first 2 weeks. You played 2 sides shitter than you, and you put them away very comfortably. I was very impressed with both victories, including this one. But unfortunately, it looks like this one came at a bit of a price. Matty Burton off about 25 minutes into this game in a knee brace after the game. Looks like he's done a grade 2 MCL, about 4 weeks on the sideline, they're predicting. Kicks, Big Philly Army looked really bad to me. And as someone that's done their ACL about 6 months ago, I did not like the mechanism of how his knee collapsed, how he could not really get much weight on it. And 10% of me thinks that we might have seen Kickout's last game in a Bulldogs jersey for season 2025. I hope I'm wrong.
That's huge.
But even the prognosis early on is that I don't think he's going to be playing for at least 2 months because his grade of strain seems much worse than Matty Burton's one. So touch wood, hopefully it's good news and he's back soon. But essentially, you could argue outside of Critter, their 2 best players go down for substantial time in this one, which is not what you want to see so early in the year.
And Paris still 6.5 against the next week.
Wow, Jason Riles, wake up. Bulldogs.
Overall, I've been great.
You look like you have figured out the attacking side of the ball. Obviously, took the league by storm last year with the second best defense in the comp, and looks like that has kind of regressed in a little bit. But I think when push comes to shove, you guys can definitely still defend
these guys.
with a lot of vigor. But with the ball in hand, you look much, much better than you did for the first
100%.
2 or 3 months of the season last year. And you guys look quite dangerous to start the year, and other teams should probably take note of. It's not going to be easy getting a win against the blue and white army this season.
Well, no way.
Onto the other opposition. Thailand's like, do you guys even have a coach? Do you even train? Like, they are literally the most clueless, misguided, planless team of.
They had a great off season. They tried.
Players like I've ever seen in my life. I can't even remember watching a Titans game and thinking that, oh, you know what, like. They're thinking a play ahead, or they think like it's first tackle now. What are we going to do on third tackle or fourth tackle? It's just always, oh, okay, like I'll give the ball to this guy now, and this guy can get the ball like after I play it, and we'll see. Like maybe Tino can do an offload, and Kenny can just go zigzag across the whole team, and he can throw it to Canberra, and if we're lucky, he can run around his opposition winger for the 900th game in a row and go and score. But outside of that, there's no plan.
There's nothing.
And in the preseason pod when we came on and said, I don't see it with these losers, it's not that they're not talented, because they are. You know, Gus came on. Shout out to Matt, who thinks he's the mafia head of the NRL, and he might be. He said, if I could coach one roster in the league, I'll grab these guys.
Wow.
And you can disagree with him. You can disagree with him, but Gus is no slouch, right? So you give a lot of teams like Tino and David, like they'll give up their kidney for these kind of players. But when push comes to shove, and I think in the modern game, Chris, in the last 3-4 years when the 6 again's been implemented, the game has become a lot more chaotic and
suits Titans
and play by play more than ever before, right? So it takes. There's only a handful of players that can control a game in the league at the moment. And that's why when we say, oh, Dylan Brown's gone for 1.3 for 10 years, why would Knights do that? He's not a game manager, right? So sure, like Dillbags can dummy and go and tune into the backline, give it to Kalen, but when you play Penrith in a finals game or Melbourne in a finals game, you know he's going to be outmatched in that area.
100%.
And when you run out of spine of Brimson, Campbell, Kinney and Verrills, when dogs are on your try line, 5 minutes into the game, you look across, you don't see anybody that's like, boys, like, number up here, fucking, let's just hang on for a couple of sets, and then when we get the ball, maybe for once in our miserable franchise, we'll kick on third, and we'll go put the pressure on them in their 20. No, it's just, oh, okay, Sami, take a tackle. Brian Kelly, you take a tackle. Tino, fucking take a hit up and offload to David, who will come on for 10 minutes a game. And, oh, yeah, we'll give it to Kinney. We'll see what Kinney can do. It's never like any structure, any plan, any semblance of anything. And this has been the problem with Titans for a long time. And we thought, finally, after a long time, that they've got their man. They got Dez. And Dez can go and fix it. Dez can go and fix the goal line defense. Dez can go and fix everything. But if Dez can't do it, who's been doing it for 3 decades, then honestly go give him Bellamy and Wayne as his assistant coach. These guys can't figure out the same garbage problems they have every year. And 22-0 by the 20th minute was really bad. The fight back was predictable as anything I've ever seen. Whoever was watching that and didn't think Titans were going to score 3 garbage tries, but what sport have you been following? You do all that hard work. And even Brimson dropped it on the try line, right? Could have been 22-18 at halftime. And then you just go and undo it immediately. Canberra knock on, try. Tino knock on, or whoever knocked on 2 sets later. Kerdman under the black dot, between Tino and Firma, where I know for a fact if Tino had a Queensland jersey on, he would have tackled him.
Yeah, I know.
But it's just
they're Titans.
The other idiots on the team rub down on him, and everyone just brings the standard down. You're like, well, if I try, then 10 minutes later, this guy's just going to let someone through anyway. So fuck it, I won't try either. And it just spirals out of control. And at the end of the day, you look at the scoreboard, and Burton hasn't been on for 70 minutes, and Kickout went out with 30 minutes to go, and you see 40. And Dogs never really even got out of second gear. So Titans, awful. I'm not going to say that you're not going to get a bunch of wins. I think you'll beat a lot of these teams handsomely. You're essentially the Cowboys of last year. You know, when it works and when the other team doesn't come to play and roll their sleeves up, you guys will put the scoreboard in check and you will get to 40 in no time. And you have big bodies in the middle. You'll steamroll a lot of teams. But conversely, when teams are applying pressure to you, it's just going to be the same garbage. And until there's an elite playmaker or some sort of half that can control this disgusting mess, I don't know what to say about Titans. It's the same. It's the same.
It's the same. Nothing to say about Titans.
Yeah. Well, time to wrap this podcast up. Unfortunately, just a crazy round. Some of these, I'm sure the tipping comps, there was some 2 out of 8s, 1 out of 8 sort of weeks where Roosters win at $11, Warriors win at $3.30, Souths win at $2.80, Raiders win at $3.30. And everyone else covered. So no one covered and lost conveniently, which means some idiot's going to lose by 2 next week. Anyway,
Cowboys.
That's all from the Back Yourself podcast for this week. Appreciate all the support as always, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe. We want to hear from you boys in the comment section. If you agree with our takes in some game, if you think I was too harsh on Warriors, if you think Chris should stop defending Para,
I like them.
if you think Dragons are good for some reason, we want to hear all about it so we can debate you throughout the week. We'll be back in 48 hours when lineups are coming out to convince the world that Cowboys are going to lose 150-0, and we'll chat to you boys then. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Good night.